So it's almost a little past 12, and I kept telling myself I was going to leave the ship to get back. But I swore that I was going to take a quick walk through the engine room. And I'm not really going to do a lot of explanation. I will a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that I got a visit down to the engine room before I took off on this trip. So here we are on D deck, and we're going to take the staircase down into the engine room itself. If anybody's wondering what these are, this is the lubrication oil coolers. The port side main condenser pumps. With the port side condenser. This is the starboard side condenser. Those are replacement main shaft bearings still in place. This is the aft engine room control platform. Now there's part of a loud opponent was still here, but this actually had a sound deadening booth, so you could actually step inside, speak on the loud without as much engine noise as you would outside of the booth. But the booth is gone. It's a revometer. Let you know exactly how many revolutions per minute the propeller shaft is turning. This would be for the starboard side inner shaft. And it repeats again over here on the port side for the port side inner shaft. This all had to do with with the warning of salinization. If there was any contamination between salt water and fresh water within the condenser, this would alarm you if you did have a mixture. If you blew a tube and you were getting a mixture of seawater in with the fresh water, that was one thing you didn't ever want to have happen. Now this plate, this deck plate here, is what they call the G deck level, which we're slightly above about maybe about 3 feet above what's known as the tank top, which would be the furthest down you can go without going into the bottom of the bottom tank of the ship. I've got the port side second intermediate and low pressure turbines to my right, and the starboard side second intermediate pressure and low pressure turbines to my left. The reason why this one is painted red is it's missing the jacketing. This one still has the jacketing, and within this jacketing would be, the terrible A word wrapping, which I assume is probably still in place in there, but as long as it's within the casing, it's safe. But they had intended to remove the upper casing of this turbine to show the blades, and that was never completed. But the jacketing had already been removed, and so that's how it remains today, with the jacketing gone, and they decided for some reason to paint it red. No cause for alarm. It's not a fire. Why there's a flickering flame in the engine room, I do not know. This is the reduction gearbox. The small gear here that you see, that's the pinion gear that's coming from this turbine. All 4 of the turbines actually connect into the gearbox with a pinion gear, and they rotate the main gear, which is that larger gear right there. So this is the first intermediate pressure turbine. This would be the exhaust. This was where steam would exit from the turbine, first intermediate turbine, and then come into the second intermediate turbine. That was a little strange. These are lubrication pumps. Apparently they have really dirty armatures because they're arcing blue. So it's a little difficult to see, but over on the other side, behind the jacking gear here, is the high pressure turbine. Now this is the turning gear, and actually if we take a look here, you'll see that there are no bolts connecting the shaft to the turning gear. The shaft is currently disconnected from the turning gear, and this is the propeller shaft right here. This is the thrust bearing. This is what physically locks the torque of the propeller shaft to the hull of the ship. If you didn't have the thrust bearing, the torque would be so great that it would actually want to distort itself. It would want to bend, and this is what keeps everything in physical place. So we're gonna go down the. We were gonna go down. Oh, let's take a look real quick. I don't care. We're going to take a look at the starboard side shaft alley since everybody goes down the port side. We're going to go on the starboard side real quick. CO2 fire protection canisters. This is shaft alley. So we have the port side inner shaft, port side outer shaft. And that great big chain link motor drive right there is what used to turn the propeller shaft so that you could actually see the propeller turning in the prop box, which no longer functions. This is the main cold storage refrigeration pumps for SeaDeck. And these are the water-cooled condensers using seawater to cool the refrigeration, or the refrigerant.
I'm just enjoying your tour.
Oh.
You mechanical engineer, professor, history buff?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of the above.
Sounds like you know what you're talking about.
This watertight door will actually take you into the aft. You go to the aft peak tank, and the housings for the propeller shafts. And this takes us over to the port side. I'm sorry, to the starboard side shaft alley. Oh, I think actually we're gonna have to go around because they've got a physical block on this side.
I've always wondered how the shaft, as it exit the